All right, I plan on doing, again, I'm deployed, so plans can get delayed. But I am going to do this month cover a lot on cluster B personality disorders, which are your narcissism, your histrionics, which histrionic is almost not even a thing anymore. That just kind of gets rolled up into BPD now, usually. BPD, your borderline personality disorder, and of course, antisocial personality disorder, and also the dark triad traits that fall in line with that. So, which is narcissism. You have narcissistic traits, which is different than the actual disorder. You have psychopathic traits, and you have Machiavellian traits. So I'm going to cover a lot on this stuff. When I decided to do it, I started getting into the body of research and realizing that the psychological community doesn't know. There's more that we don't know about these things than what we do know. Let's put it like that, because the psychological community is not necessarily in agreement across the board on how to classify things, how to handle things, and so this is gonna be from my years of not only things in my own life, but years of my coaching experience and observing relationships, and many guys as well as women who have been in, we'll call it, BPD or narcissistic abuse relationships. Okay, and so a lot of what I'm telling you is coming just from me, from those experiences, backed by research that makes sense. There's a lot of research out there, but I'm going to tell you that a lot of things are written about these traits and about these types of people that's riddled with bullshit, okay? Because unfortunately everyone's trying to make a market for themselves, and they're not a slave to truth like I am. So you have people out there promoting, an idea of everyone with borderline personality disorder is curable if you only do my program, right? Type of stuff, which is not fucking true. Okay, there's some people who are BPD who are psychopathic and narcissistic traits and will never be better. Okay, and that's what the data shows. It's not even an opinion. All right, and then there are some people who are BPD who can't be helped, believe it or not. So, but there's a little bit smaller percentage. But if I'm marketing a program, and if I'm marketing, if I'm trying to make my living on offering therapy to borderline personality disorder or cluster B type patients, if that's where I'm building my legacy and my career off of, well, then I have to present this idea that everyone with BPD is savable and helpable, and that doesn't really fall in line with the evidence or research. So I'm not I'm a coach, I'm not a licensed therapist. I'm not after your money to get, to treat you for your disorder. Like, if you have a disorder, if you have a psychological diagnosis, you need to go to a counselor, psychiatrist, psychologist, or social worker that's, going to handle that particular thing. I deal with relationships, all right? And I deal with relationships, lifestyle, peak performance, but mostly relationships for both males and females. And I coach, and that's a lot different. So if you have a disorder, please go see a professional that handles disorders, that is here to help you with a disorder. All right, so now getting into our topic here, I'm going to work a little bit backwards because there's so much on this topic to understand that I don't want to save what the fuck do you do about it till the end, because this is going to be ongoing, and it might take me a month or two to get out enough information about these disorders and being in a relationship with someone with these disorders. That is really what my focus is not so much the person with a disorder. Although if you have a disorder or an issue and you're listening to this and you're actually someone who can be helped, then my recommendation is you start taking the measures to get that help and have a better life. But this is really designed for those who are in a relationship with somebody who is cluster B with dark triad traits and the abuse that happens in those scenarios and what to do about it. So it's somebody on the receiving end of the abuse, the victim, if we want to call them a victim, and how to understand it from that perspective, and then what to do about it. All right. So we're going to start from the end. You've had a relationship that was traumatic. Now, what do we do about it? Okay, so here's the answers, and it's the quick rundown, the down and dirty, all right? But the down and dirty is this. If you are in a relationship with a narcissist, borderline personality disorder, or someone with psychopathic traits, you are going to leave that relationship fucked up. There's no question about it. Okay, you are fucked up walking away from it. The longer you were in the relationship, the more fucked up you are. Okay? Now, the lucky and good thing is that you can fix yourself, but there's a lot of misinformation on how to do that. All right? So listen to me. Do what the fuck I say. All right? And then you can get on the path of having healthier relationships in the future. Because here's the risk. The risk is that you repeat this traumatic event over and over and over again, and that's what we see. We see when a guy gets with a borderline personality disorder chick that he seems to be only interested in borderline personality disorder chicks going forward. The chicks that really get his attraction and grab him seem to be the crazies. You know what I mean? And I'm going to talk a lot from the male perspective here, but women, this is you too. Okay, so just switch genders around. It's you. Okay, so that's the danger. The danger is, okay, you're out of it. Congratulations. But the danger is that you fucking keep doing it. Why do we do that to ourselves, right? Why do we do that to ourselves? The reason why is because your attraction triggers have been damaged, okay? The things that causes you to draw and attract to another person has now been damaged by the trauma from that relationship. Now, some people have their attraction triggers damaged by trauma from childhood, all right? And this falls in line with attachment theory. So some of what attachment theory states is that, and it seems to be true, is that when we have a traumatic relationship dynamic, whether it's with a parent or with another person in a relationship, what we tend to do is want to get into that same type of relationship again with a person that has many of the same traits as that other person. Why do we do that? We do that, it's our unconscious mind trying to overcome or beat that trauma. So in other words, let's say female is an alcoholic father and he's pretty absent and he's a drunk and he's abusive. She now goes into patterns of being attracted to and getting in relationships with alcoholic men, right? Who are somewhat abusive. Her unconscious mind is doing is getting into that relationship dynamic, and she wants to win this person over who's this alcoholic. And if this person, gets help, gets better, doesn't become an alcoholic anymore, and then loves her, then that states that she is valuable. Whereas the relationship with daddy, okay, when he was an alcoholic and abusive and never came around from that, that stated that she was not valuable. So her unconscious mind had an imprint that I'm not valuable from that relationship with her dad. She carries it into future relationships with men. And the idea is this trauma. And they call it trauma bonding, but that's not exactly what we're talking about here. But there's trauma bonding. You can look that up. But it's basically you're bonding with this person where this trauma traits exist in order to overcome that and then have that feeling of value again. All right, so that's what happens. So a borderline BPD relationship, and that'll be the catchphrase I use for the rest of the video. The BPD relationship is a traumatic event, okay? If you're a victim of BPD or narcissistic abuse, male or female, you've been through a traumatic event. It's as damaging as being in a relationship where somebody is beating the shit out of you. And sometimes beating the shit out of you is a part of those relationships. Okay, but it's psychologically damaging. All right, so you have to overcome that psychological damage and trauma, or you will not have healthy relationships going forward. You won't be attracted to a viable mate that is healthy. You'll be looking for that asshole that beat you up and went to jail. You'll be looking for that that alcoholic. You'll be looking for that narcissistic person that continued to degrade you throughout the relationship. That's who you'll look for. That's who you'll be attracted to. You see what I'm saying? You'll have a male, you'll have a hot chick who is got a good family, good head on her shoulders, and she's attracted to you, she's right in front of you, and you won't fucking do anything. You won't pursue it. It won't really grab you. You're looking for somebody of the same traits as the person who created the traumatic, or was the initiator of that traumatic event. And some of you will do this if it's an abusive parent, right? You're looking to find someone with traits like your parent so you can overcome those traits and then be valuable again. You see? So what you have to do is you have to release the trauma. If you can't release the trauma, it doesn't matter what you do. You could run through and, guys, you could bang every chick on earth from your local church who all has great, who are 10s with great mating potential, and it still won't get your attraction triggers like that loser 7 that was narcissistic and that ran you through that abuse cycle. You get what I'm saying? Like, you'll meet better, more attractive people that just won't get you the same way. And this is so why does this happen, right? So it's purely science. It's no different than when a drug addict takes a hit of a very powerful drug, and now they're constantly chasing that high again for the rest of their life. The BPD abuse relationship hits you like a very powerful drug in your neuroreceptors, your dopamine, your oxytocin, the love chemicals, okay? The love receptors. What they do is they bombard you with feelings and stuff. I don't know what else to call it, just stuff, because they're not always like compliments, but they're sucking you in and they're bombarding you. They're bombarding you with neurochemicals. They're causing a neurochemical reaction in the brain to get you to have these massively high amounts of love feelings for them. And it happens in the beginning and usually right away. It's not even a gradual thing. See, healthy relationships happen a bit more gradually. I mean, yeah, the average healthy relationship, a girl will tell you she loves you within 8 to 12 weeks, is pretty normal, but that's still a couple months. I mean, we're talking, these relationships are like the love at first sight, crazy relationships where there's a high amount of lots of sex and lots of attraction, lots of arousal right away. And this person seems to be just head over heels by you, See, a healthy person doesn't do that. Healthy person may be head over heels attracted to you, have maximum arousal to you, but they're going to spend a few weeks getting to know you, right? They're going to gradually, they're going to hold some things back because they don't know you yet. A healthy person understands, I don't know this person yet, but wow, they really are blowing me away right now, and they'll hold back some, right? An unhealthy person isn't going to do that. Now, that doesn't mean everyone that does that is cluster B, but unhealthy attachment style people won't allow for that gradual build, right, over a period of a few months. They just jump in right away and they're crazy. Anyway, that's a lot of what you get from cluster Bs, and it reconditions your neurochemicals just like a drug, just like if you tapped into some heroin. And now what do you need? Oh, I need fentanyl too, right? Now I need crack, like whatever. I don't know. I've never really done drugs, so I don't know what I'm talking about with that. I do know, not from experience, but I do know from other people, right? Obviously. And so it's the neurochemical reaction that you're chasing, added to the trauma of losing that relationship and being abused during that and devalued in that relationship. So now you're looking for someone with these traits, because those traits looks like the same heroin to you that gave you that big high, and your trauma parts of your brain says, oh shit, we need to pick this person up and get them to love us and then overcome it. You see what I'm saying? And it's going to fuck you up for life if you don't fix it. Okay, if you don't fix it. So that is essentially what's happening. You have to treat it like it's a drug addiction, because it is. It's actually a drug addiction. It just happens to be neurochemicals, love chemicals. That happens to be what the addiction is. In a normal relationship, you're going to have that. With a normal pair bond, you're going to have that sense of loss and that feeling that those love, you're going to have a lot of those same feelings. But that devaluing aspect where this person devalued you and degraded you in the relationship, that's the part that causes it to be such a powerful drive to get back into that again. And I will see men over and over again get out of that relationship. They're dating, they're seeing someone, and they're just kind of like, eh. And of course they think they're being alpha because they're not that excited. And then they meet their BPD dream girl number 2. And then they're like, fucking throw in the farm. Take my money. You know what I'm saying? Like, whoa, what the fuck you doing, man? Right? So this is the pattern we see. We see it with women too. You know? They like being in relationships where they get their face slapped and hit. I don't talk about during sex either, where it's fun. I'm talking about abusively. All right. They like it. Oh, you're a terrible person, Paul. How can you say they like it? They like it. They don't like it, but their attraction triggers like it, because after that, there's a number of reasons for that. But there's a number of hindbrain, monkey brain shit that goes on. But add that to just the simple fact that the neurological chemical dump, because they're not hitting them every minute of the day, right? There's other times that they're then love bombing, right, to make up for it. And see that back and forth, it creates this addiction. So what do you do? So there's a 17 minutes of fucking bunch of bullshit of what happens to you. Okay, so what do you do? What do? You gotta break the trauma. All right, so if you treat it like a drug addiction, that means you take yourself out of the environment. If you're still in the relationship, you get the fuck out of it. And I don't want to hear any of your excuses. I swear, man, and females are worse than males on this. And I just want to, take your faces and just a few times. I want to turn it into an abusive coaching relationship to get you out of the abusive relationship you're in. You drive me fucking crazy. Because what you'll do is you'll keep going. And then I've had to fire clients before. Females are usually who I've had to fire because they won't fucking do it. And I won't accept excuses. I don't give a shit about the feelings. I don't care. It's like, but I'm addicted to this heroin. I have to do the heroin. What do you mean I have to do it? You fucking don't have to do it. And if you keep doing it, I have to cut you out of my life. As a client, right? As a friend, any of that stuff. Okay? And this is this is what happens is an addiction. Now, what do you do in a heroin addiction, right? You go to fucking rehab. You take yourself out of the environment. Unfortunately, there's no rehab for shitty relationships, but what you can do and what you have to do is you have to take yourself out. So you have to completely, no contact, block, take yourself out of it, and go through with the withdrawal period, okay? And have someone fucking watch you if you have to. Go move in with someone. Have someone take your damn phone so you don't text the guy or the girl. Do what it takes. You got to get yourself out of it if you're not out of it. Now, I'm going to assume you're out of it now for the rest of the video, but that's the first, I'll do a bigger video on that too. But that's the thing, you got to treat it like a drug addiction, you got to get the fuck out, all right? And anybody who is listening to your problems and, stroking you and trying to make you feel better during that process so you can just run back to the other person isn't helping you at all. They're what's called enablers, all right? So if you have friends or family or someone that's in this scenario, don't enable them either, okay? They have to get your love and support, they have to be making the action steps to get the fuck out of the abuse relationship, right? And that's what they have to do. So now you're out of it, right? But your attraction triggers are damaged, all right? You're conditioned now to respond to crazy and dysfunction, to get the love feelings for crazy instead of the love feelings for somebody that is worth it. All right, so what do you do now? All right, so you have to undo that trauma. And there's 4 steps or 4 things that you need to do, some combination of these things, okay? So one is we're going to handle, and we have to attack it on a number of fronts. We attack the logical, conscious forebrain, your human brain. We attack that part, and we attack the unconscious brain and the unconscious mind as well. And we redirect, because you can't really change your internal primal drives, but you can redirect those drives to something more productive. And so this 4-pronged approach is designed to do all that. Okay? So first part is to work on the logic. I mean, this is not in any particular order, by the way. You have to do them kind of all simultaneously. Well, one thing that you need to do is you need to get an understanding of it. We have an understanding of things in your conscious mind that trickles and starts to change and alter your unconscious mind. So if you understand what you're doing with the trauma bonding and trying to repeat traumatic relationships consciously, then you can start to change and alter that, what's going on in your unconscious mind. If you're unaware consciously, then you're doomed to just keep repeating that stuff, you know. And now understanding it logically is only one thing, though. So that's not going to do it for you. That's not the end all, unfortunately. I wish it were, okay? But that's a part of it. So that involves research, reading, YouTube videos, my video you're watching. This is part of that process. And then writing, journaling, stuff like that, or talking, can record yourself. These are things that will, because now you're putting the things you're reading and your understanding into words. And another way of doing that is therapy, to simple cognitive behavioral talk therapy, where you're talking this stuff through with another person. And you could do that with a buddy, but I recommend a professional therapist, okay, to have a cognitive behavioral therapist to talk through things. So that's, you know, so the first prong is getting the knowledge, meaning the research, the reading, the YouTube videos, the whatever it takes to understand these disorders and your reactions and what's going on. And then to have some medium where you're talking about it, writing about it, or putting those things, that the information, into your own words. So that's 1 and 2. And into your own words could mean therapy as well as the journal writing, as well as whatever it may be. Okay? So that's prong 1, prong 2, attacking the conscious forebrain. Now we start getting into the rest. EMDR therapy or hypnosis style therapy is the third thing. The first 2 won't work for shit if you don't do these other things I'm mentioning. Okay? You can understand believe me, I know. Because I have people that come to me for coaching with this exact fucking problem, and we get the logic. They know what the fuck is wrong. They get it, they understand, and then they just do the same fucked up batshit crazy shit because the drug is too strong. The drug of the BPD chick is too strong for them to get out of because they haven't done the work on the other half of this stuff. They've only done the logic stuff. Okay? So you have to do this. You fucking have to do it. And so that is, again, 3. So 3 is getting into your unconscious mind and doing trauma release. Okay, so that is EMDR. That is hypnotherapy or some version of hypnotherapy. As a coach, I can do a version of hypnotherapy just like this. Okay, so if you're coaching with me, this is something we can do. But an EMDR certified therapist can help you with this, as well as someone who is, you know, and some I would recommend not just hypnotherapy either. EMDR, there's a version of a type of hypnotherapy I do over this medium. Okay, that is what's going to get into the unconscious mind and start lifting and releasing this stuff, so that you're no longer in that state of being devalued by the trauma. So you overcome the trauma. You have no space in your life for a functional relationship if you are hanging on to the trauma from previous events. Whether that's child abuse, whether that's a rape case, whether that's a whatever it may be. Okay? Now, someone could have child abuse, never do this, and be okay. All right, but when the nature of BPD abuse relationships is so traumatic as an adult that without doing something, it's very difficult to be just okay. You know what I'm saying? So doing this trauma release, I call it just trauma release therapy, EMDR, I'll keep saying it, or some sort of hypnotherapy. What you're doing now is you're getting into the unconscious mind and you're reopening those wounds a little bit and then releasing them so that they no longer have a hold on your attraction triggers. There's things that draw you to somebody else, and a lot of that stuff is driven by this previous experiences you've had, and that sits there in the unconscious. You have to remodel that stuff, or you won't be able to bond in a healthy manner. And then that leads to 4, which is self-work. And that is where you can do a form of self-hypnosis therapy as well as meditation. Because you're going to get anxious feelings and traumatic feelings, and stuff's going to come up when you react to things in your environment. And when you start reacting to, let's say you're dealing with your ex still because there's a kid involved or whatever it may be. So as you react to that stuff, your brain waves are going to move into an anxious state, a high beta state, and your neurochemicals are going to start dropping stress hormones, and you're going to start reacting to trauma. Like you could be in a relationship and someone could do something that resembles that abusive relationship, and you fucking react like a maniac to your partner. It's not their fault, right? It's because you're reacting to something that they're doing, saying, that just resembles a previous trauma. It's not your partner's fucking responsibility to undo your trauma or to change their behavior because of that. You know what I'm saying? Unless their behavior, of course, is abusive. That's another story. But if they're doing normal behaviors that just resembles, and it hits that unconscious triggers, and then it causes an anger reaction or causes a maladaptive or unhealthy reaction from you. These are things that happen. And you release those things by getting your mind under control, okay? And that's what the meditation does for you. If you're an alpha man, you're doing some work like this. Warriors of past every culture did mental work, whether it was through their religion, prayer, doing a rosary, doing a pagan ritual, or pagan meditative practice, and in like a Viking culture. There's Muslim practices, there's Taoist, Hindu, Buddhist practices, all things designed to get control of this thing up here. Okay, so you got to start doing that. And that's where I do alpha brainwave meditation, and I do, just regular stress release meditation. You know what I mean? Peak performance meditation. There's all kinds of stuff. I've done another video on this, so you can go look that one up. All right, but that's number 4. So to review again, 4-pronged approach, okay, is you have to get a logical understanding of what the fuck happened to you. So that's your research, your reading, your YouTubing, all that good stuff, talking to professionals. Get it out in your own words, so you're processing that information. That's your journal writing, your talking to a therapist, cognitive behavioral, right? Third is the trauma release therapy, like your EMDR, your hypnosis. And the 4th is your self-work on your mind state, and that's your meditative practices. So those are your 4 pillars of success. Okay, could you be better without them? Without 1, without 2? You could, maybe, but you're leaving it up to chance. Okay? Do you want to ensure your success in breaking those trauma bonds, and breaking that trauma attraction, breaking that attraction to that asshole